Mark Goldbridge, thank you so much for joining me on the sit down today. It's a pleasure to have you on.
You'd finish last in a one-horse race.
No, I'm talking. Piss off. I'm talking. No.
You wanker.
No.
You
Bye-bye.
fuck off.
Go away. What are you talking about?
Fuck off.
Do you think when I get off the show, I'm like, right, what are we having for tea tonight, wife? Get that chicken on. Oh, these peas are rubbish. They're rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. Get in a bin. What the fucking hell? Oh, no! No! Liam Gallagher was on a radio station last year and he said, I watched this program. This program called The United Stand. They basically called us a bunch of prats, but, it's Liam Gallagher who I grew up listening to. Pink boots! It's the pink boots, Marcus! The bloody pink boots! 11 minutes in and we're 1-0 down. It's been coming for fucking 20 minutes.
What are you like outside of the United Stand? Hobbies? What are you into? What's Mark Goldbridge or Brent like?
I like Batman, so I suppose it's like Bruce Wayne and Batman. Screwdriver out, because I am gonna screw you up, you piece of shit. Letting me get played off the park by Norwich. Norwich, what a bunch of prats.
Mark Goldbridge, thank you so much for joining me on the sit down today. It's a pleasure to have you on. First of all, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. Hopefully the world's starting to go back to normal. Kids are back in school, just took them this morning, and I think this is going to be really important for people's mental health. I mean, the really interesting thing was when I dropped my daughter off, the amount of people congregating outside, and I think it's going to be difficult for some people because I think it's quite a social event. Whereas when I drop my daughter off, I literally drop her off in the car, I can see her walking in and I drive off. But there's people who just congregate there in groups because maybe they're it's a social event for them. And I think we're meant to be social distancing, and you just wonder how long it is going to be before everything goes apart, because I think kids being back at school, university, back in your workplace, it's even me, like I was up this morning at like 6:45 and I've not been getting up till like 7:45 because there's nothing to get up for. And then a bit of exercise. I feel a lot better today because I've been up longer and I've done more activity than I've done by this time, and for your mindset it's great. So look, I'm feeling good today, feeling good.
How has coronavirus affected you? United Stand, if you guys don't know, by the way, Mark Goldbridge is the owner and the presenter and the host of the United Stand. And so many businesses have been affected by coronavirus. How has coronavirus affected the United Stand?
I mean, look, I could probably go live on anything and talk for an hour. I'm quite, unfortunate or fortunate. I will find something to go live about. Whether people want to watch it is another matter. So, look, you're involved in some of this stuff yourself. We did like the 24-hour stream for the NHS and raised over 20 grand. But, that was fantastic. But that's one day in about 5 months, wasn't it? So,
yeah.
I did a lot of FIFA. But on the United Stand, which is basically a United fan channel where we talk about, United topics, when you've not topics because there's no football and everyone's in lockdown. I don't know how we did it, but we still managed to do a show a day. I think at times we were doing 2 shows a day. I don't even know. I said that to my wife the other day. When I get to Christmas, I'm going to go back and look at some of the content we did on lockdown and think, how did we manage to do that? It was a weird time, but for me it was a bit important time because it was I remember the first video we did on the Friday night just before lockdown, and I said, look, we're not going anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere because it's something I do every day, and for me it's very important. And I think having that in a time of uncertainty was really, really helpful, to know that 8 o'clock every night I was going to do something that I've always done. So, people always say, it was great that you kept doing stuff through the lockdown. But actually for me, on a personal note, it was great that everyone, even some people just watched and typed in the live comments to make it feel like it was normal.
Yeah. You've been quite open about your sort of mental health and sort of, as I say, mental health on more so on your personal channel. The United Stand and being in the limelight, because there's no doubt now that, Mark, 800,000's racing towards 1 million subscribers on the channel. You're very well known, not only in YouTube now, but I saw a fella from The Script the other day saying that he's a big fan. Robbie Williams knows who you are. You are a huge name now. And so how has that affected your mindset and mental health?
I mean, it's two questions really. Mental health is, to me, has no barriers. So, whether you are Robbie Williams or you're Robbie Smith, who works in the local cheese factory. I think there is no barrier, and some people say, well, it's easier to live Robbie Williams' life. That's not how mental health works. You know, whether it's chemical imbalance, whether it's grief or it's an event, mental health, you know, it's like cancer. It doesn't choose. You know, it doesn't discriminate. It will go for anybody. So mental health can impact on anybody, and you know, it's something that's. I don't think I've got it bad. I don't. I think some people have it every day. I think some people have really bad traumas in their lives, reasons, abuse as kids, you know, massive losses, you know, in relation to grief. So there's lots of triggers that I don't have, but I definitely do have it, and I you know, I think that the focus on it's really important. I always described, I had for years on a Sunday, not every Sunday, but for years on a Sunday, I had this like black cloud over me. And I just felt like it was like a doom is the word. It was just like a doom feeling, and there was no reason for it, and I'd never understood it. And I think over the years I've sort of understood that I drank a lot on a Saturday night, like most people, and alcohol does affect your mood. And then I did a lot of jobs I didn't like, so there was that not wanting to go back to work on a Monday. So it's probably quite a perfect cocktail of alcohol in the system and not wanting to go back to work that made Sundays for me quite a dark day mood wise. But on the fame thing, I mean, look, again, a positive for me is that I'm of an age where I've done loads of things. You know, I failed at school. I had to, you know, readdress my life. In my 20s it was spent doing, you know, professionalising my life really and working hard, and then in my 30s I sort of started doing the YouTube stuff, which was really hard alongside my professional job. And then the back end of my 30s was about, you know, doing the United Stand and everything that I do sort of full time. So the fame thing to me, because I lived a lot of my life without that recognition in a social public way, to me it could go next week. So I'm like, I think if I was 20 years of age, your age, with this, I'd be a different person, because I don't know what life is. I've got no experience of what life is other than suddenly, and this is something that I feel really bad. You know, a couple of my daughters watch these programs like the Norris Nuts and stuff like that, and they love it, and I can see why they like it, but I can't help looking at it and thinking, the parents behind this, I mean, they're just throwing these kids who've not formed mentally or physically into a world that I do worry about. The younger YouTuber, I do, because I just think unless you can maintain that level of interest and success, which, to be honest, traditionally in celeb world you don't do that, you're gonna have to deal with this dip. And for me, I'm prepared for that dip, because I didn't have this for 20 years as an adult. You know, I went and got married, I got kids, I did professional jobs, and I know I can go and do that again. So I never take much note of the fame, although, you know, it is always nice when somebody that you respect says they watch the show. I mean, Liam Gallagher was on a radio station last year, and he said, you know, I watched this program called The United Stand. They basically called us a bunch of prats, but, you know, it's Liam Gallagher, who I grew up listening to. So that's nice when it's someone you respect and like. Yeah.
You mentioned there your whole life before the United Stand. People seem to almost think that, you know, Mark is in front of a green screen talking about United Stand, and that's what he's done since he came out of the womb. Like, that's how sometimes people categorise you. You have had, as you say, a full life before the United Stand. What was your life like before the United Stand?
I think, to me, there's peaks and troughs in life, and anyone who says that that's not the case is a liar. You know, me and the wife would sit down and say that we had difficult years where we didn't have a lot of money and we were working hard. And that's not because we were working hard. It was just you were starting out, and, you know, you went for a house that was a little bit above what you could have got. And I'm only talking a 3-bedroom house in a better area. So yeah, I mean, life for me has been peaks and troughs. I think that the best period of my life was probably between the age of 19 and 23, when I lived in Ireland. I met my wife there, but had the best time, like living in a capital city. Living away from home. I suppose it was like a pimped up university for me, because it was like I never did uni, and when I lived in Dublin, the funny thing was all my friends were in uni, so we'd be out till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and they wouldn't get up till 3 in the afternoon, when I'd just be about finishing my day job. So and Dublin's a fantastic place, so that was great. Then I came back to the Midlands and obviously went into policing, and then left that, and then went into like financial work, banking and stuff. So I've done most things, and I've done most things because I failed at school, which is something I'm very, eager that my kids and anyone who's young who watches the show is like, you always get that tweet, and I've been guilty of it, when the exam results come out and somebody will say, well, I got no GCSEs, and now look at me, I'm a millionaire. Yeah. And I think I've even tweeted that I'm not a millionaire, but I've said it doesn't need to define you. But what I would say is it's one of my big regrets, and okay, it's worked out on the face of it quite well, but I really do regret not doing well at school. So yeah, but yeah, ups and downs, mainly ups, and all of it I have no regrets, and I think that's the main thing.
You mentioned your job in the police there. The only reason I bring it up is because for some reason there's this whole thing, Pete Copper, Goldbridge and all this sort of stuff. We'll get into the hate you've received online later. But there is this whole thing about people almost trying to expose you, the fact that you were in the police. First of all, what's your take on that? And second of all, what was your time in the police like? Because that's genuinely an interesting job.
I mean, the funny thing is, I totally get the people who say you bent copper and everything like that. I've got no problem with it. It's a perception, it's a stereotype. It probably may even have something to do with their previous experiences that growing up. Some people just hate the police. I totally get that, and that was part of the decision I went into it. My family don't like the police. They don't. And when I remember telling them, and basically, they were absolutely not happy about it. But I'd hit a point in my life at about 25 where I'd come back from Ireland, had a good job in Ireland, and I just couldn't get a job here that was, I went into, in Ireland I was basically, boring, but it was I loved the job, and it was like basically I was going to be an underwriter, which is quite well paid money, where in life insurance, where you basically look at an application and you have the decision on whether that person should have life insurance, and it's all based on, you're basically a watered down doctor in a way, because you've got to look at medical reports and everything like that. So it would have been well paid work. I mean, I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to come back, but I couldn't get anything like it here. And I was just like, I remember just being down the pub with some mates, and I think it was my wife who said, you ever thought going into the police? And I just sort of took a drink on my pint and went, ha, good one. And then but it dropped a seed, and I was like, you know what? I've always loved Inspector Morse and all that sort of thing. And I thought, I never did in the police. I never liked the idea of petty stuff, criminal damage and, all that lot. I mean, look, you have to deal with it. But I liked the idea of going into being a detective. And that's what most of my career was spent doing. And the reason that I liked that is because obviously we've all watched the detective programs, and it tends to be serious crime, so you're actually making a difference if somebody's been stabbed or murdered, or somebody, the high level stuff. So yeah, but it was a difficult decision to do it. I just felt like I'd put myself into a corner, and I really, for me, it was going to be the fire service or the police, because you did, again, education wise, I had no degree, I had no A levels, and that was a problem. And at that time, those jobs would take you. And it changed my life. I mean, it changed me as a person. I've probably become more cynical and emotionally detached because of it, because you have to. But I think I've also become way better under pressure because of it, and way better with people, way more diverse. And I'm not talking about race and religion and homophobia and that. I just think being able to talk to a wide variety of people in different situations. So look, it was a very positive experience for me. I totally get why people have a bad perception of the police, and haters are going to hate. So people will just throw, if I had a big spot on my nose, people would say, look at that big spotty nose twat. If people find something that they can have a go at you about, they're going to have a go at you. Yeah, there are bullies in the police. There's also some of the best people I've ever met. I don't actually keep on contact with many people from the police, because for me it's something in my past that I sort of distance myself. I always went in there to do it for a certain period of time. A lot of people go in there and that's their job till they retire. I never saw it as that. I wanted to get as much of it out of as I could. And as bad as it sounds, when you've dealt with 3 or 4 murders, the only thing that's different is the victim's family, and that's always different, and it's always hard to deal with. But a lot of things you start to feel like you've been there before, because it's the same process, it's the same CCTV trawl, it's the same things follow patterns, and I just felt I was getting a bit stale, so I just was like, I want to move out and do something else now. Yeah.
You mentioned there that you only went into the police for a certain period of time, and that you were never there permanently, or that was never your plan. the idea that you were going to start up a Manchester United-based YouTube channel and that was going to hit almost 1 million subscribers and you're going to get all these followers and do all these things, that surely couldn't have been in the plan. How did that come about?
That was never in the plan, no. I mean, look, I've always loved football, obsessively loved football, wanted to be a footballer. It's why I did shit at school. So I've always loved football to the depths of I would spend a lot of time in class just, we used to play this game where somebody pick a club and it was a bit like a head-to-head. So, we're talking maybe Everton in the 90s and I'd say like Neville Southall and then someone else would play, say Dave Watson, and you'd just go through, but I'd be able to go through their reserves. I was just so obsessed about football. So I've always loved football and I've always been on forums and stuff. And it was just an idea, and at the time I thought it was a great idea, and I thought I was the only person who had the idea. I was like, it's well known. I was lying on a lilo in Mallorca, I think, in 2014.
Not that lilo in Mallorca, is it? Not the fruit seller.
No. He was nowhere near. He was nowhere near. And I was just like, you know what? I want to do I want to do something that's live and interactive, or no, it wasn't going to be live. It was going to be recorded content that I put up on YouTube, and maybe people are interact with it, and that's basically where it started. And then I went on YouTube and I realised that there was a couple of people doing this sort of thing, but not in the way I wanted to do it. So no, it was never part of the plan. I've always been a creative. I always wanted to write books, and I used to write like comedy sitcoms and things like that. Really wanted to do that, but it's an impossible world to get in.
Yeah, you started off quite. I've been a viewer of the channel for a long time. If people don't know that are watching at home, and obviously now I'm involved with the channel as well. But it seemed like you started off. It was Soccer Box originally, and you started off quite serious. You had your suit on, you had your Old Trafford little background, mosaic background. It was quite down the lens serious, and that's almost evolved now to more of a. You're still serious. You talk about the football seriously, but you like to have a laugh with it as well. You do your analogies and that sort of thing. When did that transition come, and why did it happen?
I think when I first started doing it, Soccer Box was meant to be a weekly recorded show where I discussed the results of the Premier League and the upcoming games, and tried to inject a little bit of banter into it as well. And those videos shouldn't exist anymore. I think I've got them because I took them all down because they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. And then I was like, it just wasn't working. Out of the 5 people who did watch it, people were just like, what the fuck is this? And then I was just like, yeah, okay, we'll stick with it a little bit. And then I was just like, well, I've got this channel and I'm a United fan, and there was a United game and I did a United reaction, and it got like 4 times the views anything I'd done on Soccer Box, which Soccer Box videos were taking me a long time to sort of put together. So I was just like, you know what, I'm going to do another United reaction. And then I was like, well, there seems to be there's now 20 people watching my videos. So, so it was like, then we started doing a Sunday night show with me, Kev, Martin, Alex, and Rich was there as well at the start. And that was like, we were getting 50 people watching us on a Google Hangout every Sunday at 8 o'clock. And then we decided to rebadge the channel to the United Stand. And then it never really looked back. And it was then a once a week a show with a match reaction. Then we did a preview. And then it's just built out to what it is now. Which always makes me laugh, because I saw yesterday you said that you got 1,000 subscribers. And I was like, the world's changed now. You get people coming on the United Stand, they do their own channel, and they're celebrating 10,000 subscribers within weeks. And it's like, that's the power of the United Stand. It's not the power of them. I'm not taking anything away from them. But I know this world. I know how long it took to get 1,000 subscribers on the United Stand. And it took a long time. Because we were the first. And now people can just, put a camera on. I've been on the United Stand. I've been on this channel, and they've got. They don't know they're born. And I'm on the United Stand. I've suddenly got 10,000 followers on Twitter. I remember how long it took me to get 10,000 followers on Twitter. So it's been a very interesting path, and you learn a lot.
Yeah. I've always tried to stay quite exclusive to, so I've never set up my own football channel or done something like that, because I've always thought, my loyalties lie with the United Stand, and that's where I'll talk about football. And so I've got this channel, but, I like to interview a variety of people. It just so happens that we've got you on today. In regards to people coming on, and maybe sponging off you isn't the right word, but people coming on, leaving, setting up their own channel and trying to think that's going to be successful. How does that make you feel? Do you ever feel used, or what's your opinion on that sort of thing?
I think at the start you do. I think you do. You know, I mean, the United Stand isn't me. It's something very important. It's a community, and I see that every day. So I'm very protective of that community, and I think at times it has come across that it's me, protective of it, and we have been used definitely. But I also think that, you know, I have Mark Goldbridge, That's Football, which is basically for FIFA and non-United stuff. I also have the Mark Goldbridge channel, which is for being a bit of a prat, doing cooking and whatever. I don't have Mark Goldbridge on Man United because that to me just... I could do that because the United Stand isn't me, but I just think, well, the United Stand is where you find me talking about United.
Exactly, that's my train of thought as well, yeah.
There's a lot of people across a lot of clubs, it's, you know, it happens with Arsenal and Robbie as well, who, yeah, they're famous or whatever for doing that, and then they go off and do their own thing where they're basically talking about the same thing that they do on there. I suppose everyone wants to be famous. That's the only way I can figure it out, because I think, you know, we'll get people coming on the United Stand, right, who have never wouldn't be known if it wasn't for the United Stand, and we're about to go live, and I'll go, can you retweet out that we're on the show? And then you'll look, and they haven't done it, and I think, well, you're only, you know, fair play for doing your own thing. That's absolutely fine, but you really, I know this path. As I said before, I know this path. If you didn't come on the United Stand or another channel, and you tried to do it, you wouldn't succeed.
No.
So I do sometimes feel that people don't appreciate the opportunity that it's given. But then again, those people who are given that opportunity, they're talented people, otherwise they wouldn't be on either. So I just don't know. You know what I liken it to? It's a bit like David Beckham's scenario. David Beckham worked really hard to become one of the best footballers in the world, and you know, his kids will never know that path. They just won't, because they grew up in the world that he built. It's not their fault, and they will be successful. You know, some of them are successful, but they can never tread the path that he trod, because he didn't grow up as with parents who are multimillionaires, most successful people in the world. And I just think people who come on the United Stand now in a very watered down way, they'll never know what they're being given, because they'll never know the path that we took from the start, where, wow, we've got 100 people watching, it's amazing, you know.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's due to lack of whatever personality or whatever it is, but I am getting those like 100 views sort of thing marker on YouTube. So it's not coming too easy, but as you say, I'm absolutely grateful for everything that you...
I think the graft's part of the ride anyway, because then you appreciate it. You know, it's a bit like what I was saying before. These people who are just thrust into fame as young people, do they really know the downside, the graft?
So someone that hasn't come and gone and maybe exploited, maybe not the right word, but exploited the channel in ways that other people have is Flex, of course. Flex came into the picture, in 2018-19 to do fan cams. Why has he stuck around like he has? And obviously he's been fantastic on the channel. And how important is he to the United Stand?
I just think that area was something that I didn't really want to go into, the whole fan cam thing. I'm not, you know, despite being a big part of the United Stand, I'm not a big fan of fan cams, and I've always been very public about that. But people think I am because it's on the channel, and it literally was a conversation with Robbie from AFTV, who said, you know what, I can't believe you don't do fan cams. You know, you've got such a good channel, you should do it. And I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, look, let's sort of let's give it a go. On the United Stand. So we got Flex in, camera guys very important, you know, the infrastructure's massive because, you know, they're travelling all around the country, all around Europe, trying to get, you know, they've got to have season tickets and things like that. So it was a big thing to do, and you know, the first few came in and I was just like, oh, you know, but I do like it now. I find I never used to watch fan cams around Manchester United because I found them you know, repulsive, to be honest. You know, I just felt, and you know, I find a lot of the FTV ones repulsive because I don't know, I just see through it. I do see through it. I see what it is. I've seen these people, and it's like they're queuing. I've been there when you've been there, and you're waiting to do. You know, I don't get there very often, but you'll wait to do your fan cam, and you just feel sometimes that people are just waiting to have a go and, you know, grab their moment. And why wouldn't they? Because we've seen people go viral off it. But no, that's what Flex has brought to the channel, that diversification of the channel, to be able to do that sort of content, which, you know, for somebody who's not a great believer in that type of content, there is no disputing that it's really, really important, because it's giving more people a voice and an opinion. But we're always very careful, and we have made mistakes in the past. Definitely, we're always trying to be, the things that me and Flex always say is that, if somebody says something we don't agree with, then we really should pull them up on it, because whether it's about the manager or anything like that. But it's a difficult area to work in that, and he does a good job.
A lot of people, especially with the fan cams, have criticised fan channels and fan cams specifically, because people sort of think that, and I guess this is sort of what you were alluding to before as well, how people think that someone can try and get onto the fan cam, say the most outlandish, outrageous thing possible to try and get as many views as possible, go viral, and that in turn creates a negative spin, negative environment on the club. What's your opinion on those sorts of critiques? And yeah.
I to be honest, I think any opinion, as long as it's not abusive or riddled with hate, is fine. I mean, people call it the negative stand, which I find ridiculous, because I'm just like, well, that's just a perception that you and your mates have because you don't like it, and you might not like it because of certain people on the channel. You might not like it because it's not. I'm from Nottingham. You might not like my face. You might not like a lot of things, but it's not a negative outlet. When things are going well, then the channel is a very positive place to be, and I've seen that. I've seen it. I've seen us winning the Europa League and that. But if somebody doesn't like fan content, I can't argue with them. It's a valid opinion if they have a valid reason as to why that is. And the one thing that I've noticed, and we've had these people on the channel, is that no matter what, I mean, I'm a fan that, look, if I don't like something like Fellaini, I won't shut up about it, and I'll be like, he could score a hat-trick and I still wouldn't like him. I know exactly what sort of player he is. I knew exactly what sort of player he is, and for me, he will never be a Man United player. I'll celebrate some of his goals, I can celebrate the fact that he runs through brick walls, and he's probably a really nice guy off the pitch. But I judge players on the pitch. I never liked that player. But then you'll get someone like Matic, who I felt like that about, and then he turned it around, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give him a bit of credit. So I always want what's best for United. Yeah. But there are some people who just want to see they just want to see the world burn. Like they make their mind up about someone, and it's like they don't want to change their mind. It's like Luke Shaw is a player that I like, and I think he's massively been missed. And I think we would have won a Europa League without him. But still, you'll get some fans, he's shit, he's trash, he's fat, and I'm like, yeah, I get that you might not like the player, but he's playing well, and he's playing well in a Manchester United shirt, and he's the best left back that we've got. So I don't get that fan. So I have to look at people who have an opinion on what I say or what fan cams say, and say, well, look, maybe they have that mindset. Maybe they just don't agree with the way we do things, and you've got to respect that sometimes.
You mentioned there, Luke Shaw, you're fat, you're this, you're that, and you said you don't really want to put out things that are abusive. Any football opinion that isn't abusive and is just that, a matter of opinion, and that's fine to go out and be aired. You've received your fair share of abuse and hatred, and it is abuse. It really is, because I've seen a lot of it third hand, looking in on the situation, and it's been viral at times. What effects has that had on you? What really got to you in that sort of thing? Because it did get really bad at one point, didn't it?
I don't think it really has any effects now. I think it's disgusting and vile. I see a lot of people get it, and the thing, it happened to me the other day. I mean, I literally didn't say that Van der Beek is better than Lampard, but you're trending on Twitter with Chelsea fans going, I can't believe Goldbridge just said that Van der Beek's better than Lampard, and I'm like, I didn't say it. Like, I actually didn't. No bit of it where I say it. It's just people clipping something and then putting it out and basically saying, look at this, and then people get brainwashed, and I'm like, there's nothing I can do about that. That's out there now. There's nothing I can do if people say I'm a nonce. There's nothing I can do if they say stuff about kids. There's nothing I can do if they say stuff about, dying of cancer. There's nothing I can do about it. And to be honest with you, there's not a lot that Twitter or social media want to do about it either. I think they're terrible. I think people have killed themselves because of stuff like this. I think more people will kill themselves because of stuff like this. I think people are bullied, mentally scarred because of stuff like this. It's sad. It's really sad. And I said it on one of my videos this week. I said, look, if somebody has a pop at me and I see their profile picture and they look like a fucking turd, I'm going to say, look who's talking, you turd. And people say, oh, you're just as bad as them. I'm not just as bad as them, because, to be honest with you, throughout my life, I don't like bullies. And every time someone's bullied somebody, I'll stand up to them. And look, I might end up missing a tooth. I might end up with a broken rib. I might end up worse. But I would rather stand up to a bully than just let them bully people. And that's what I see them on social media. They're fucking bullies. And I just think, you know what? If people think I'm as bad as them, so what? Where's the rule book on how you deal with a bully? Because I tell you what, there is no rule book. These people who say, "Oh, just report them so they can set up a new one." Look, if that's your sitting on the fence approach, that's fine. But it's a problem. But as you know, if somebody says one thing to you, or somebody says 10 people say it, is it any worse than the one person saying it? So we're all victims of abuse. We're just, some of us have more volume, and it's a massive problem. And look, I you know, people could probably find stuff I've done and said, well, is that not abuse? Is that not bullying? And look, you know, it's all down to interpretation. But one thing I don't do is I don't go around saying certain players shag kids. I don't go around saying I wish that player would die of cancer. And I think that there are levels to this game. And the thing is, as well, when it comes to social media, who's behind it? Just because they've got a profile picture of bloody Kay Havertz and they're a Chelsea fan, does it actually, you know, are they Kay Havertz? No, they're not. They could be a 48-year-old woman from Australia, as much as your mind is telling you it's some cool Chelsea hardcore fan in his early 20s. The reality is it probably isn't, because that cool Chelsea hardcore fan in their 20s isn't probably on Twitter. He's probably down the pub with his mates having a life. So it's a mind fuck. That's what it is. Sorry, the language.
It's all right. You mentioned conflict there, and when you started the United Stand, from the beginning there seemed to be an issue with a rival channel who have now rebranded. Won't mention their name, but well, I will actually. It's Stretford Paddock. They were full-time Devils. There was a rival. There was always an issue there. What happened there? Because even though it's maybe a sensitive subject, I think a lot of people are interested in why don't you guys get on?
I mean, to be honest, it's so long ago. I'll give you an example. I called True Geordie out when I was quite new, and when we first met, when he asked me on the show probably 2 years ago, he said, "You're a bit of a cunt when you first came on the scene, but I like what you've done, and I want to meet up and do something." And we did, and I was like, "Look, to be honest with you, I came into this arena. I knew what I wanted to do. I've lived my life. I don't need to get in line. I don't, respect is earned, and that's the attitude." And I came in, and somebody, these people tried to basically. I literally was told, get in line and learn respect from somebody within that business. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's not that. Going back to the bully thing, that's not going to work. I'm not saying they're bullies, but bloody hell, they were arrogant. Yeah. And this wasn't people in front of the camera, by the way. This is people actually running it. Okay. So, and they were connected with a lot of people. So I was just like, you know what, reckless, really. I was just like, well, they're all the enemy. Yeah. Fuck them all. And I basically just was like, whatever to all of them. And in relation to that channel, there was some again, I've got the tweets. There was some horrible stuff said. Like one of them actually said, "All I wanted for Christmas was Goldbridge dead. Oh well, there's always next year." And this is a guy who is still doing content. And I'm sorry, I've walked past him a few times. I've looked at him. He's never said anything to me. And I just think, well, look, I always believe in second chances. I've actually said over the years, look, there's a lot of crap that you talk that I've never said, and that may well be vice versa. Let's sit down and have a chat about it because we work in the same arena. And they're not willing to do that. So to me, that says a lot about those people. It's basically gobbing off hate, and they've never met me. And if you're going to judge me for sitting in front of a camera, you don't know the real me. Yeah. That is part of me. It's not an act, but do you think when I get off the show, I'm like, right, what are we having for tea tonight, wife? Get that chicken on. Oh, these peas are rubbish. They're rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. Get in a bin. It's not. It's far more chilled out than that. So, and that's, but people hate me because of that, because of what they see on the camera. And it's ridiculous. But so, look, I always believe in second chances. It's a long time ago. I couldn't give two shits about any United fanzine, channel, ex-player. Yeah. They've all had a go. None of them have met me, so I don't really give a shit. I take people as I see them. I don't judge people without meeting them. I've got friends who hate people. I've got people in this industry who I like who hate people I like. And I'll always say, look, I know you, I like you both, I'm loyal to you both. I'm not involved in your argument because I've met you both and I like you both, and I'm not taking sides. But unfortunately in life, people will decide they dislike you without meeting you. They'll dislike people because mates dislikes them. So that's not me. I think I came into this world, got treated badly, lashed out at everybody, and then over the years I've sort of been, look, they're not relevant. They're not relevant. If they actually want a proper conversation, that's fine. And if not, then let them swim in their own hate, because I tell you what, they're swimming in lies and hate, because they don't know me, they don't know the people on this channel, and they've got it wrong. And that's their problem, not ours.
On to the positivity then, from the negativity. United Stand has done fantastically well, and it's become a huge success and overtaken everyone else that was in front of you when you first started. What are some of the things that go on behind the scenes on the United Stand? So much work gets put into it. As I said to the viewers a little bit before, I'm part of the channel to a certain extent, but you guys really, every single day, 24/7, you're on it. What are some of the things that people don't see that go into the United Stand?
I'm just thinking of an idea for a programme now. Goldbridge gets his dinner from his wife. She'll divorce me, but I think there's some comedy in that. I think that the easiest thing for me is 8 o'clock at night, and when that red thing comes on the screen and I'm live, that's the easiest thing, because I already know what I'm talking about. I know that the live comments are going to give me stuff to talk about, and I know I can talk for 45 minutes. So to me, it's enjoyable, and I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's comfortable. The hard bit is everything behind. And I suppose this is the same as when I was watching Batman Begins last night. What a great film that is. And you think, well, my brain even works like this now. The scene at the end where Batman's with Michael Caine and Rachel, and I know that that's filmed in England. I know that scene's filmed in England, but it's Wayne Manor, and they've just gone from Gotham. And I know that the Gotham bit's filmed in America, and my brain starts going, wow, you know what? That one change of scene is 2 countries and everything, and months of preparation. And I think this is the thing. What the public get to watch, whether it's a film or a YouTube channel, is only a little bit of everything that goes behind it, because you've got to know what you're going to talk about. You've got to get everything set up. And you've got to do it regularly as well. So there's loads of stuff that goes on, and of course, I mean, at the moment we're in the midst of a transfer window, so the last thing you want to do is go and say, oh, Thiago's definitely coming to United, when there's a tweet saying something else.
How have your family reacted to the huge just sort of change in your life? Because I guess it has been has it been a huge change in your life, and how have they reacted to that, if so?
Look, I think that the I'm really grateful to the wife and the family and the kids, because it has changed. Sometimes it'll be like we're going out, and then it'll be like, no, I'm not, because I've got something to do at 2 o'clock. So because something's going to happen. There was a day this week with Van der Beek where I was like, I think it's going to be official at midday, so we can do something this afternoon. Didn't get announced till 5:30. So, but you don't know whether it's going to be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So it is changeable. But having said that, I think the harder times were at the start, when you're not going to a family barbecue because you're doing a watch along for United against Stoke and 200 people are watching. And to be fair, the wife was always really understanding, and I look back on that and I think it's easy to be understanding when you've got a few thousand people watching. But when you're starting out, that support was invaluable, because other people would have been like, nah, fuck this, I'm not having that. So I think that the hardest bit was when you're holding down a full-time job and doing this as well, because I think there was a time, probably 3 years ago, where I was probably doing as much as I'm doing now, but also doing a full-time job, whereas now I'm doing this pretty much full-time, and I don't know how I used to have a full-time job and do this. Well, I do. I was doing the transfer show, getting off the train, walking up the canal to work, and then at lunchtime I was going out and doing another video. So it was just, but so it's easier but harder, because I think that the more people want to do this now as well. Like there are so many football channels, football individuals now trying to do it, and why not? Maybe they think they can do it better, but I think in a way we're fortunate that we got onto it. We weren't the first, but I think we're the first to do it well, and now everyone tries to do it similar to us. But I think it's very difficult. I always think when you try, I always say this to people if I've got any advice. I always say this. I just say, look, if you're gonna do it your way, because when I started doing it, nobody was doing it like this, and now everyone does it like this. And I think the way I did it might not have worked. I might have had to try 3 or 4 times, might have 4 or 5 different ways, and I may never have worked. But if you're copying somebody else, you're only ever doing what they do. And I think that in creativity, I loved The Office on the sitcom. No one's ever come close to that for me, and I think that's really sad, because it doesn't have to be in an office. It could be a totally different thing, but I just think creativity is about evolving. You can be influenced, but I think you should always have your own voice, because if you're trying to be somebody else, if you're trying to be the next Xander, or you're trying to be the next Saeed, or you're trying to be the next Goldbridge, you're always trying to be the next that. Well, there's something that nobody's doing at the moment that somebody can do, and I think that's my tip.
100%. Outside of the United stand, then quickly, because I am conscious that you've got to shoot off soon. In regards to what you're like outside of the United stand, first of all, let's get it out there. Mark Goldbridge clearly isn't your real name. That's public information, and we all know that. But does that help, having that name difference? Does that help sort of separate maybe yourself from the hate and any of the criticisms? And also, secondly, what are you like outside of the United stand? Hobbies? What are you into? What's Mark Goldbridge or Brent like?
Well, I like Batman, so I suppose it's like Bruce Wayne and Batman. Seriously, I would love it to be like that. I would love it to be, Goldbridge is like Batman and Brent's like Bruce Wayne. It's too close. It's not like that.
Right, okay.
It's too close. Like the personality is too close. I think, I think when people meet me in real life, they'll see I'm more relaxed, because I think when you're live, and especially when you're doing games and stuff, or reacting to a game, you're at your peak of emotion, and that's normal. I mean, look, when I'm down the pub watching a game of football, having a pint with the lads, I'm animated. I mean, that's pretty much what you're gonna get. But so I'm more relaxed and more chilled. But the emotion, the personality traits are still there. If I bang my head on a cupboard. I'll be banging the thing, calling it a prat and everything like that, worse. So there are similarities. I think the name was forced on me because of how the channel started. I wasn't allowed to use my real name, because of the job I was in at the time. Yeah. So, and I've got people who work on the United stand, people who I know, Brian, Loz, on the True Geordie, they call me Mark. They don't have to. They know my real name, but they call me Mark.
I call you Mark as well.
Yeah. And I'm happy with that. So I think for me, they run in tandem. One is not a shield for the other. Yeah. One is not a real person, and one's not the other. One is not a cape or a mask or anything like that. They run really well together. And if someone calls me Mark, it's fine, because my day job, I am that, and always have been. But if someone calls me Brent, which actually nobody does, really,
Draughty,
I'm happy with that. So
Yeah. What do you get up to outside the United stand then? You say you like Batman. Are you just sitting there watching trilogies after trilogies, or what do you like to do? Go play football?
I tell you what I love to do. I love to get to the end of the day. I normally, after the 8 o'clock show, would normally just me and the wife will watch whatever we're watching on Netflix. Like, we've watched some really good stuff recently, like The Sinner and that, and I'll look forward to watching an episode every night that we're watching, because it's just chill out time. And then she's up quite early, so I'll normally stay up a little bit later, and I'll just like sort of series I'm watching, whether it's like Last Kingdom, or at the moment I'll be going through the Batman trilogy or something like that. So I do like just sitting back, chilling, watching good TV. But look, I like to be active as well. I actually like playing football, and I do a bit of coaching and stuff. So, I'm not. There's loads of things I'd like to do. I think being a creative, you've always got things you'd like to do. Like, I really wanted to get into NBA because I loved The Last Dance. I really liked it, and sometimes I will flick it on, but I'll be like, I've got so little time. I cannot get into that whole. I can't give that sport the time that it requires. So it's difficult to have other hobbies, because I like a lot of things, but this is all football, and it's nothing to do with the United stand. Football's always been all consuming for me. And
Well, the United stand, even though you say it's nothing to do with the United stand, I presume the United stand is very taxing on your time and your effort and your sort of energy levels. Do you see a time where you're going to stop? Because are you going to do this until, you're sitting in a wheelchair with your walking stick, you're absolute brat at 80 years old? What's the future of the United stand?
I'm a firm believer that it's better to burn out than to fade away, and so I think that I would like to go out on top. I don't want to die, but like I want the United stand to exist without me involved in it, and whether that's me in a reduced role or that's me as a producer or just part of the team behind the scenes. I do want to evolve to that. I can't put a time limit on it because I enjoy it too much at the moment. So, but I do want to evolve it into that. And look, what I wouldn't close the door on on doing other things. So, but it's not going to be in the next. God willing, it's not going to be in the next sort of 3 to 5 years because look, I still think I can do what I'm doing now for another 5 years easy. And
there's still room for growth, isn't there? I think the United stand can still go places. Where do you want it to go? What do you want to see happen to it?
I mean, people get lost on like subscribers. I mean, look, there's channels with massive subscribers that don't get there's people with over 1 million subscribers that don't get the views we get. So I'm not I mean, it'd be nice to get to 1 million subscribers because we're close to 1 million subscribers. But other than that, I'm not really bothered. I think the growth of it is great. And I just want it to be a respected platform. I'm not overly bothered if people don't respect it, but I do want it to have some credibility in relation to what it's meant to be. We're not meant to be journalists. We're not meant to be ex-players, but we are very important because we are football fans, and I think football fans are the lifeblood of football. We've seen that with COVID. Clubs are losing money because we're not in the grounds, and everybody buys on forums. The vast majority of those are football fans. And football fans have got such great opinions as well. Like, there's so much intelligence, and where there's not intelligence, there's just passion. So, I think it pisses me off when I look at things like BT and Sky, and you've got Rio Ferdinand or whoever stood there with the presenter, and behind them there's this gimmicky fan wall with people going, Rio, look at me, Rio. And I just think, look, I get the fact that people love Rio. I love Rio. I think he's a great player for United, and he's got some interesting opinions. But I don't actually think that Rio Ferdinand's opinion on Man United is any better than those gimmicky fans behind the back. And I think that has always been the problem for me, is that you've got mainstream media and you've got fans, and it's a bit like, oh, they're there.
Patronising, isn't it?
Bit patronising, and I think it is. When actually, I think fans should, in some ways, especially when you see the shit that they talk on Talk Sport, fans should be here and mainstream ex-players should be a little bit down here. But actually, how about this? That's where it should be. I'd love to see the day where on Match of the Day, one of the panellists is actually, and they've got to be well vetted, and they've got to be somebody that people can listen to. But why do you need an ex-player to go, at the end of the day, I think Solskjaer's doing a great job and Wazza's doing a great job, just because you knew them all? Or do you want somebody going, no, at the end of the day, Solskjaer's an ex-club legend and we all love him, but his record at the moment is not good. We're not, you look at what Lampard's doing at Chelsea, we're not good. And of course, I'm going back to January here, and it's now. But I think people just appreciate, once they get past the barrier of who is this, he's not an ex-player, I think actually people appreciate honest, real opinion. And that to me is very, very important.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I won't hold you for any long. I'll let you go off and do your thing. I know you're very busy, but thank you so much for coming on the show, pal.
No worries. I really enjoyed it, and thanks for having me on.
No worries, guys. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, and do all that good stuff. We'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.